Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have a Clayton Echard paternity scandal response by Jane Doe. She wrote a response to the motion for sanctions. What does all this mean? Well, it's legalese for new shit hit the fan. That's right. There is new information that is being presented from petitioner that is leading some to call this demonstrably perjury. So we're going to get into, or demonstrable perjury. I'm going to read the response for you and then share how she's now catching herself into lies. You know, this is what happens. You get all these new attorneys. They don't possibly have the bandwidth that the internet has. That's why this, and I don't always agree with vigilante justice because in a lot of ways people cross the line. But in this case, the amount of bandwidth that exists online between the Justice for Clayton accounts, the private discords, I have to say, for the most part, even though there's internal warfare and all of that, for the most part, eyes are on the prize, and that is elevating the truth above all of the muck. So follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I'll be live on Patreon this morning in an hour or so, patreon.com/Dave Neal, to continue to talk about the behind the scenes. You got a lot of it yesterday. We shared some incredible information regarding documentaries that are being talked about, pitches that are happening, phones are ringing off the hook. People want a piece of this wild story. And then Bachelor Rush Hour, the hit podcast every morning and afternoon. Go check it out over there. Best way to support the channel is to check out the podcast. All right, let's get into it. Here's Jane Doe's response. In the Superior Court of the State of Arizona, in and for the County of Maricopa, she says, petitioner, well, that's Jane Doe, hereinafter petitioner by and through undersigned counsel hereby files this response to respondent's motion for sanctions pursuant to Rule 26. Petitioner asked the court to deny the motion. Oh, shocker. Alternatively, petitioner asked that the court issue an order that attorney fees and sanctions abide trial. As a precursor, counsel notes that this motion is not ripe for litigation, as the pleadings and history of this case demonstrate that discovery and requested protections of the discovery are still ongoing. So what I'm going to share with you after I share this right here is the actual exhibit where petitioner Jane Doe absolutely blows it out of the water. Crazy claims are made here in this email to Clayton, which should be enough to show the judge, hey, she's lying out of her asshole. I mean, at least that's what it looks like. Either she's lying then or she's lying now, but there is sort of a vague discrepancy between what she says and the truth. All right, here's their law and argument. Rule 26 states that the attorney or party signing or filing a motion certify that to the best of the person's knowledge, information, and belief formed after reasonable inquiry the following, and then they talk about all of the evidence and this and that, and we're just going to glaze past that. Counsel for respondent Clayton certified that he met and conferred with petitioner on August 16th, 2023. Lucky you. And with petitioner's previous counsel, Alexis Lindvall, on December 27th, 2023. However, respondent's motion did not include evidence demonstrating that petitioner, Jane Doe, or petitioner's previous counsel, which one, were provided written notice of specific conduct alleged to have violated Rule 26. Written notice is required. So to me, it seems like their, rejecting of the motion is more based on some formality here. Petitioner and respondent engage. Okay, so here's where we get new information. Petitioner and respondent engaged in sexual intercourse on May 20th, 2023. Thereafter, petitioner became pregnant. Now look, we know that Clayton says they only had oral sex. What is intercourse? Bill Clinton says he did not have sexual intercourse with that woman, and we found out he got a blowjob. So the president doesn't believe oral sex counts as intercourse. Me personally, if my buddy was like, yeah, we had sex, and then I find out he just went down on her, I'd be like, no, you didn't. You know what I mean? But it is a sub-segment of sex. So could she be claiming that oral sex is sexual intercourse? Maybe. But if that's the claim she's making, then, I hate to be the person here to discuss these hypotheticals, but if that's the claim she's making, it's disingenuous at best, because no one, as far as I know, is getting knocked up from the old act of a blowski. It's just not happening. Now, if she wants to argue that there was and again, early on a Thursday morning. Please forgive me. But I spit, and then we rolled around, and it was a real messy. We were in a ball pit at a McDonald's. Like, I have no idea what her argument is. I was upside down in an anti-gravity chamber. Things moved in different. Okay, I don't know, but just saying, well, we had sexual intercourse is misguided, because now the court records to some random person, if they read it, goes, oh, they had sex. I mean, anything's possible. Even if you're on birth control, even if you had 2 forms of condoms, even if you double bagged it, which they don't recommend, it causes more friction and can tear. Don't do that. But we used lambskin. He said he was allergic to whatever the case may be. If they actually had penetrative sex, you could get knocked up from. You could always sneak one past the goalie, as it were. But it is disingenuous to call it sexual intercourse. She has yet to sort of confirm that there was, and excuse me for using biological or anatomical terms here, penis in vagina. That is yet, and I hate to say this, but this is why you almost need a deposition to say, when you say sexual intercourse, what do you mean? Like, and she's going to go, oh, this is so embarrassing. Well, we need to know what you're talking about. So it wouldn't be embarrassing if all of the chips were on the table, as it were, but they're not. Therefore, petitioner became pregnant. So they say, well, there was sexual intercourse. And all I can think of is, I did not have sex with that woman. And it's like, well, what do we mean here? And of course, we know Bill Clinton was disingenuous, and we believe Jane Doe is disingenuous, just in different ways here. It's the art of linguistics, folks. Therefore, petitioner became pregnant. So they claim. Petitioner believed respondent to be the father of the unborn child, now known to have been twins. It is uncontroverted that respondent purchased a pregnancy test, asked petitioner to submit to the pregnancy test in his presence, and that the pregnancy test came back positive. He does say, though, that he never watched her acquire the sort of goods on the test. No, he didn't watch the urinating happen. Okay. Petitioner subsequently filed her petition to establish paternity. Respondent now claims he and petitioner never engaged in sexual intercourse and therefore could not have been the biological father. So he says respondent now claims he and petitioner never engaged in sexual intercourse. Respondent Clayton has said that for months. This is how gaslighting happens, right? He goes, look, when they were sending private messages, he goes, I don't believe you're pregnant, but if you are, I don't want to be the father, and blah, blah, blah. He never believed it, but then he watched her pee on the thing, and he goes, oh my gosh, what the hell happened? Did we roll over something? Did something get on a seat cushion? You know what I mean? What the hell? Maybe my jock strap from gym was laying out. I didn't wash it. What, you know what I mean? You start crazy talk. It's crazy talk, the trachea blockage, I sneezed and this could have passed by you know what I mean? Crazy talk. But we have no reason to not believe Clayton, and we have every reason to not believe Jane Doe, because of course her pattern would suggest she just makes this shit up. Now, do I believe she did test positive with a pregnancy test? Yes. Was it the faintest pregnancy line ever? Yes, because I saw the photos, as we all have, and I've even seen videos. Videos that, basically I was sent videos that show her taking the test from a wide lens, like a phone that's set up. She dips down out of frame, takes a test, and comes back. Could she have had Diet Coke on it? I don't know what Coke Zero test pot, apple juice, maybe. Do I think that she knew, due to the hormones or the fertility treatment or the HGC, whatever that she was on, that she would have tested positive? Yes, that's what I believe. That's my belief. Now, could I be sued for my beliefs? Well, apparently so. Apparently I am being sued February 8th. I'm in going to defend myself against harassment here, where I just don't think harassment is when you don't believe somebody. I don't believe she was ever pregnant. I believe she knew she was going to test positive, and that was the trick used to get Clayton to believe he was the father. Despite respondent Clayton's assertion to the contrary, the petitioner filed her petition to initiate establishing respondent's paternity rights. Petitioner did not file to harass respondent and certainly did not attempt to delay any proceedings. Well, I mean, you could argue just switching new lawyers every 2 days. And you would have to think that lawyers in some way or another would actually want to take this case, because I think there's got to be some, and let me know from lawyers out there, it's like how do you win a case when you know your client's lying through their teeth? Maybe he believes her. But chances are he's going to be trying to use hijinks and legal aerobics, as we'll call them. Legal aerobics. That should be a podcast. Legal aerobics. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. In fact, the petitioner has attempted... Okay, respondents' assertion that petitioner's claims are not supported by evidence are disingenuous at best. Objection. You're disingenuous. Okay. The petitioner's claims and pleadings have evidentiary support. Respondents' actions have limited petitioner's ability to provide supporting evidence. Now, respondent Clayton's side have said, well, we've asked her for HIPAA record releases. We've asked her for us to be able to contact her law, this and that. It's almost like my lawyers have begged Chase J. Jones to go on a Zoom call with us and we'll quash this motion. Just, crickets. Petitioner should not be required to provide evidence pertaining to her privileged medical records without accepting that the evidence will be immediately shared with the public, and petitioner will be further harassed and embarrassed online. In fact, the petitioner has attempted to procure witnesses to testify to the merit of her claims. Unfortunately, and this is where this gets very interesting. Unfortunately, these witnesses fear coming forward without confidentiality, as they do not want to be subjected to the same embarrassment and harassment as petitioner. The issue of confidentiality and protective orders relating to discovery are pending. As such, respondents' claim is meritless and premature. Listen up, witnesses. I have yet to reveal a source. I've got plenty of sources speaking out against Jane Doe, and I'm not revealing their sources. And I have yet to receive one person that is defending Jane Doe here. If there are witnesses that are afraid for their embarrassment because they'll be online, the court of public opinion is open, and I will not publicize who you are or your identity. But if you want to come together and say, hey, I'm actually Jane Doe's yoga teacher, and we've been doing prenatal yoga. I've seen the fundal height change during downward dog. I saw the twins punching each other through the over. If you want to share that with me, I will not reveal your identity. The offer stands. And do we know if Jane is listening? Abso-freaking-lutely. She has her morning oatmeal. She flexes her fingers. She stretches her neck, she crushes a can of Monster Energy drink, and then she goes online. Well, rally up the people that are supporting you, procure those witnesses, and send them my way. I got internet now. I can interview them on Zoom. I don't have to interview them publicly at all. The sources that I have that are speaking out against Jane Doe are also worried for their safety, because they don't want to lose job opportunities and have claims made against them because they speak their truth. But I tell you this, these sources, super close, between 0 to 1 degrees of separation from Jane Doe. These sources seem to think that this is a pattern that has existed well before victim number 1, 2, or 3. They also say that they've got very close friends that have been in the house, in the property of Jane Doe, and say she was never pregnant, she never showed any baby bump. In fact, she was rail thin. Congratulations on your diet. Looking toned. So these sources speaking to me are afraid of their confidentiality and so far haven't wanted to come forward. So I understand. Where are Jane Doe's sources? Hasn't sent any to Reality Steve. And let me tell you something. When there is a modicum of truth, when there is a flicker, a tiny little candle's flicker of truth, people come forward. They come from all different places and tell you. People talk. And not one person has talked in defense of Jane Doe. That's all I know. Respondent's motion is filed in bad faith, and petitioner should be awarded her reasonable attorney's fees for filing her response. So we have a sort of who's going to foot the bill question on this one. Respondent filed the motion in bad faith, and the court should award petitioner her attorney fees for having to file a response. Respondent is leaking information to the media, causing a constant public barrage of petitioner online, and then is attacking her by filing frivolous requests for sanctions because petitioner cannot send her privileged medical records to prove her allegations without the cover of confidentiality or protective order. The cover of confidentiality is more like a shield she is hiding behind, a shield protecting her from transparency, from truth. All the while, respondent is causing petitioner to incur additional attorney fees while respondent continues to crowdsource his attorney's fees through GoFundMe. Oh, boo-hoo! Petitioner argued that she already has plenty of money, so why should she wonder or care about who's footing the bill here? Whoever's footing the bill is immaterial to the conversation. Join Clayton's GoFundMe. Let him drag this out as long as he wants to get to his truth. Since when does she fucking care about attorney's fees when her whole MO is to punish these men? The only connection so far is that they're all seemingly straight white men. That's the only connection so far. I'm now included. Guessing I'm spending $15,000 to $20,000 to prove that free speech does exist. Free speech comes at a cost. Only when you're dealing with Jane Doe, I guess. They say this case is no longer about a child. This has turned into respondent abusing the family court as his own publicity stunt. Well done on the reverse Uno. Respondent is using this case to attempt to increase his popularity by using his followers and his public image to control the narrative. This intent is clear when evaluating the tone and constant stream of degrading statements being made in respondent's pleadings and his attorney's emails, which are coincidentally almost all referenced as exhibits in respondent's public pleadings. This is further supported by each of respondent's pleadings being made public online before many of them even appear on the electronic court record after being processed by the clerk of court. Petitioner, who originally filed the petition to encourage the person she believed to be the father of her children to be an active, involved father, has now been made out to be a crazed woman who fabricated a pregnancy for her own publicity when this narrative is far from the truth. Objection, Your Honor! What side are we reading here? Now, whether you want to call her a crazed woman who fabricated a pregnancy or not, I'm not going to label her one thing or another. Do I believe she faked a pregnancy to control the response, maybe through some sort of deranged? I'm not saying she's deranged, but the act of contracts and, hey, baby, I'm still tight. You can get this. Hey, the best thing is to have sex with me. I'm already pregnant. You've already knocked me up. Keep throwing it in there, partner. All right. I guess that's a normal person. I've just never seen that normal act, happening before. The conclusion. The court should deny respondent's motion for sanctions and should allow petitioner to file a China doll affidavit requesting reimbursement. Okay, it's not even about the money. Sure, this motion right here is about who's going to pay for what. I don't, in my belief, these motions exist sometimes to continue the battle, to continue the transparency, to show, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on out there. It's all public records, but Jane's side says, well, you're making it too public. You're making it public too fast. What? What's going on here? So in that moment where they talk about intercourse, let's see if we can find it here. I think it was from the earlier page here. In this moment where Jane says they had intercourse, and we wonder, what do they even mean by intercourse? Well, we know they don't mean penis and vagina because we have the exhibit previously, which, by the way, very hard to read. This looks like it was scanned through 17 different copy machines at my 1990s elementary school. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell does this say? Well, good people online have dedicated their time. Oh, be careful. Jane Doe's going to accuse everyone of volunteering their time. This isn't fair. People are seeking the truth. Well, she has it right here in the email, the private email to Clayton. She has it right here, which has been made public because it's in the court records, where she says, hey, I haven't had sex. I'm going to be nice and ready for you. So here it is, the transcript. I'm going to go to the second paragraph. And again, this is her sort of like, come get me, last chance to hook up, and I'll have the abortion. You know what? Let's read the whole thing. I come home tomorrow afternoon, Clayton. So if you want us to consider an abortion, this really is our last chance because of timing and the fact that neither of us would want to end the pregnancy once there is a heartbeat. I'd like to get together tomorrow night to talk and explore intimacy. It's time for you to make an effort if that is something we are considering. Obviously, I would love to have sex in the future and feel like I am the safest person you could have sex with since I'm pregnant. But if you really think that, like you said yesterday, my goal was to date and get pregnant during this time, we can absolutely hold off on it. However, it occurred to me that you might believe me more about paternity if you were inside of me and felt how tight I would be after not having sex in more than a year. Maybe then you'd believe that I hadn't been sleeping around. And again, you wouldn't be doing me any big favor. Having sex with me is a privilege and not something I have done for a long time. All right, where's the fucking gavel? Case closed. Ding, ding. Move it on. She finishes, just like he did. If you either don't get back to me tonight, or if you give me the final word twice, you finished twice, or if you give me the final word that you don't want to date and choose the outcome of the pregnancy, we are 100% having the child and there is no going back. I mean it. And I am at peace either way. My mental health and well-being is affecting our child's, and I would blame you if we have a special needs kid and discover that my stress, hormones, and blood pressure caused that. I will blame you if we have a special needs kid. So she's now, in my opinion, pretended to be a black man journalist, and she's attempted to use where do you even, what category of person has she not offended? Now she's weaponizing special needs kids to say, hey, if you keep stressing me out, our kid's going to be special needs? The hell is wrong with this person? She said, I just need you to make a decision. Clearly, given the evidence I have given throughout the process that I have put together in the attached Dropbox file, I am pregnant. I have proactively worked to arrange prenatal paternity tests myself, which should prove to you that I know you're the father. Again, I believe this was before she knew there were twins, in which case she said, hey, turns out they're twins. Can't do a prenatal test. And he's like, I've got Rabjen on the line. Bring in Brett. It's like a wrestling match. Brett, come on down. You're the next contestant on Jane Doe's Babies. You win a brand new fetal DNA test. Come on down. There really are only these two outcomes. So if you want to keep believing there's not a pregnancy or that you're not the father, you will be sorely mistaken and it will be too late for us to consider. And it goes on and on and on. Okay, so there it is. Here she admits she hasn't had sex in over a year. So how come we're allowing her to claim here that they engaged in sexual intercourse? What the hell is going on? I'll tell you what, we're going to keep talking about this. I am back on Patreon. I've got internet, and we are not going to be stopping this conversation. It just gets stranger and stranger. It's Pepe Le Pew. It's Wile E. Coyote versus Roadrunner. But we're all just waiting. Can we get a GoFundMe for the judge to have a nice vacation when this is all said and done? Now, I know we can't do that, but please, I hope they take the time to read all of this and see the lunacy that we all see. We'll be back with more content right after this.